I have just a few brief moments with you. And so what I want to do is my best to touch upon what I believe are some prescriptions so that you can be happy and healthy. And I'm going to look at three different parts of the human being. The first is the mind and the way in which we think. The second is the heart. And the third is the body and the way in which we act. So I'm going to take these three parts and I'm going to talk about how we can be healthy in each of these three elements of the human body, of the human self. The first is the mind. A person cannot be healthy and happy unless they manage the way in which they think. One of the most important things to the happiness of a human being is it has to do with what a person focuses on. So there is this concept that I focus on and I repeat many times because it's very, very powerful. And that is that whatever you focus on, it will grow. What you focus on grows. And that's why you find that there are people and there are some types of people, they are problem focused. What does that mean? It means that in any given situation, they will pick out the problem and that will become their focal point. You guys know anyone like that? Now, what happens when you become a problem-focused person is what that leads to is something called anxiety. People who are problem-focused also tend to have very high levels of anxiety. These are people who have trouble sleeping at night, trouble shutting off their mind, trouble shutting off their worry. And the reason for that is that when you focus on problems, problems grow. They start to become bigger and bigger. And so any problem that you sit and think about and talk about and write about and post about, guess what happens to that problem? It starts to become bigger and bigger. And so what happens is when you are a person who focuses on problems, you also start to become surrounded by those problems and they can become very debilitating. They can feel paralyzing. Another type of focus that sometimes people have, you guys have heard this glass half empty, half full analogy, right? What is that talking about? What it's talking about is that if you take a glass of water and you fill it 50% with water, there are going to be some people who will describe that cup as half full. And there are going to be others who describe it as half empty. That's referring to focus. So another way to explain this is that analogy of the boy, right, with the cake. There's one picture, there's this meme I read, very powerful. At the top, there's a picture of a little boy holding one slice of cake. And he is beaming. He's so happy because he's holding a piece of cake. Then below him is another picture of another boy. And he's holding an entire cake with one piece missing. And he's sad. Now, the boy on the top is happy. Why? Because what's he focused on? What he has, which is a slice of cake. The one on the bottom is sad because why? He's focused on what he doesn't have, which is only one piece. Now let me ask you this question. Who has more cake? The guy on the bottom who's sad. The guy on the bottom who's sad actually has more cake, but it's his focus that's different. And because his focus is on what's missing, he's sad. The one on the top is focused on what he has, and so he's happy. And this brings me to the concept that I'm talking about. And that is that what you focus on grows.